Yeah, it's like what I feel for humanity is like there's so much fucking potential. But then
Mm-hmm.
it's so clunky on here. Like it feels so fucking clunky because we're so fucking in our heads.
Okay. So
And that's where
yes.
it feels like a toggle. I'm like,
Yes.
it's like I part of like breath work is like giving people access, or part of like the work that you and I are doing is like, how can we give people access so they know that the unification and the connection of humanity is our greatest source? Because right now we just don't know that. And we're seeing that.
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about. Reina, I feel so happy that I'm here with you. And it's weird being on a couch with you when I'm not bawling my eyes out.
I got the tissues right here, baby.
Oh my God, we'll see where this goes. What if this just turns into like another somatic session? You're just like fucking on me.
We can go for it.
Because that's normally what happens when we're together.
All right, honey, I'm ready.
I feel so grateful. You are someone who has had, oh man, I'm like going to get emotional already. You are someone who has had such a deep impact on my life. Every area of my life, I feel like you are there, and you are there to support, and you are there to hold, and you are there to guide. And, you know, I often think to myself, what if every human had a Reina? And what would be possible? Because the strength that I've been able to tap into in my body, and just the open-heartedness and just the compassion that I've learned from you in how to be with myself has been extraordinary. And so thank you. I love you.
Well, I'm speechless and wordless on the podcast going, Ooh. Yes.
And so yesterday I was hanging out with Jason Prawl, all of our mutual friends, and I was telling him that I was having you on the show today, and he's like, you gotta make sure that people know that Raina is not just this energy, spirit, everything's amazing. She's actually one of the most intelligent people that we know. And it's so true. People come across you and they're like, oh, energy, playfulness, sparkle. Oh my goodness. But there is this like depth of intelligence that you have, and this background that you've been through working in all of the different areas that you've worked in to now lead you to this place of healing. So I'm curious if you can kind of give us a little bit of an insight into the path that led you here to where you're doing your soul's work, which is awakening humanity, and give us a little bit of that backstory.
The backstory is way back. I'll start with this incarnation, but way back. And there was a time, a very precious time, when I was scrubbing a floor. I was in 8th grade. It was a really big floor. And I had a mom who was very militaristic. I called her ma'am.
You called your mom ma'am?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And the squares on the floor had like little crevices in the, and my task every Saturday was to take a toothbrush and a bowl and scrub every crevice and every tile and then, wipe it. And this floor, when you're in 8th grade, it looks like it's like twice the size of this floor, which may not be that big, but when you're in 8th grade, that's a lot of squares. So I remember doing this and doing this and doing this. And one Saturday, I clearly remember like waking up into it. And there was a thought that I'm not going to do this forever. So fast forward to 10th grade. And my mom and I have an altercation, which leads me to be kicked out of the house.
In 10th grade?
In 10th grade.
What is that, 15?
15, my 15th birthday. We had a miscommunication. I went to a school dance after a football game. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to.
Mm.
I missed my ride home. I ended up walking home. The house was dark. I slept outside. In the morning, the door opened and the finger pointed and said, out.
Just like that.
Just like that. And in that moment of out, this is tying into, I'm not going to do this forever with scrubbing the tiles, right? Something is happening here.
Right.
And as I turned and I walked through the door out, I heard in my head, it's a benevolent universe.
Mm.
I didn't know what benevolent meant,
Mm.
but I took that as a sign that it meant something amazing.
Can you explain what that means? Because I actually don't really know what that means.
It's good. It's good. Like the
good.
universe is
Benevolent
good.
is
It's good.
Okay.
So I took that as, I didn't know what a mantra was, but I
Right.
took that
Mm.
and it was a lens that it was like I was dropping my enculturation through my lineage with my mom. And instead of being empty and scared and afraid, I pulled this phrase and I
Yeah.
wrapped this phrase around me and through my senses. And I looked at everything that the glass is half full, like it can be nothing else, because I didn't know
Yeah.
what this word meant. So somehow something is speaking to me that I can rest in no matter what.
Ugh, that is such a gift.
So that's where it started. And because of that, circumstances led to, like, I had one interesting, it would be a long story. We don't have time for the whole story to say exactly all that happened. But of the things that happened during that kick out phase, is there was one time where I really did have nowhere to go. I was staying at friends. I was cared for so beautifully. I was in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it was good. But one night I had nowhere. So in my infinite creativity, I decide to sleep in the bushes in front of the entrance to my school. And I get in the bushes and I sleep on an anthill. I don't know that I'm sleeping on an anthill until the morning when my arms are bitten up. But I sleep in the safety of academia. I sleep in the safety, no matter what's happening, I go to school. I keep going to school and I keep maintaining school. A year later, by then I've been fostered by friends. I haven't talked to my mom. Like, it's been this whole ride. A year later, I'm living in a foster family who loves me dearly. There's 9 of us. It's amazing. But then another family with less kids wants to adopt me. Long story short, they find my grandmother, doesn't know I've been kicked out of the house. She finds my original father. He doesn't know. He hasn't seen me since I was 1. My mom was on her 5th husband when I was kicked out of the house. We have lived a lot of life by now. So my father comes, adopts me.
What?
Adopts me. I meet my father for the first time just before I'm 16.
I literally cannot imagine that.
It was wild. There was a knock on the door. My foster father is sitting with me in the rocking chair and he says, "That's your dad. Go answer the door."
Did you have this instant, like, knowing that that was your biological father?
No, I opened the door and I had a 16-year-old mind that was pretty hip to fashion. And he was from the East Coast wearing white shoes and like a white belt and a polka dotted shirt with white polka dots.
You're a geek.
I'm like, bro, this is my dad. And his hair was kind of puffy, like, maybe he styled it or something. And I'm living on a ranch with a bunch of cows and horses and dogs and kids and, the outskirts of Scottsdale. So I look at this man and I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is your dad. So he looks at me and I look at him and he takes me to dinner. And that started this amazing journey getting to know my dad and him getting to know me. But what happened is he lived in New Jersey.
That's where Eric's from. It's not the greatest
It's
place on
not
earth.
Arizona.
Every
It's
time Eric goes to Jersey, he turns into like a Jersey dude. I'm like,
yes.
bro, why are you so angry?
Yeah, it depends on what turnpike, what exit on the turnpike you get off on.
Exactly.
But for me, somehow, because of that, it's a benevolent universe.
Yes.
I am so radically open. I
I
am
feel that
so
in you.
open. I think actually I must have come in open, but I went through a lot of physical trauma with my mom. I went through,
Yeah.
all of the stages, but I kept opening.
Yeah.
And in the opening, what would happen is I would go into New York City and people would say, oh, you can't wear a gold chain, get off the bus. You're in New
Yeah.
York City. You got to tone it down. And like, I remember one man in a big, huge fur coat, Avenue of the Americas, walks by me and comes over and hugs me and lifts me up in the air and says, thank you for coming to our city. I love your smile. And then continues to walk. So that was my experience. I would get in a cab and they'd say, do you want a
Yeah.
date? And I'd say,
Yeah.
sure, come to my house. Here's my
Yes.
address. And I'm 17 and a 40-year-old would come to my house and say, hey, I'm taking your daughter out for a date. And my dad would be like, you are not over my dead body taking my daughter out on a date. So I lived there for a year. And I think it was because I was so wide open, my dad couldn't keep up.
So I just realized something. I just realized a huge. First of all, I can't believe I'm hearing the story for the first time. This is great.
It's a lot of detail, but it's just to get us into the opening.
But what I'm realizing, and I see this in you, is when you are met with what people would say is challenge or resistance, you open, you keep your heart open even when it's breaking. And I
Yes.
think that is the secret sauce that so many people get to learn. Because so
you
go,
lean in.
go
It's
deeper
like,
into
it's
that.
it's like what happens is when the unthinkable happens to you,
Yeah.
there's a choice point. And in that unthinkable, the tendencies, the habituated tendency is to close around it because that's what the body does. Like there's an owie and then the body closes around it and it forms a shield and it covers.
Yeah.
And then it will stay that way. It'll stay that way.
Yeah.
So biologically, it works well. Our bruises heal, but our emotions don't work the same way. So what we need to do is be conscious that in that moment of the unthinkable, we have a pause. We have a pause. And in that pause, there's a choice. And in that choice, we can follow the body's natural capacity to close. Or we can ride that closing, kind of like a keto where we ride it a little bit and then we get that energy and we use that energy to open. And then in the opening, as you're opening, then what you're finding is this benevolent universe. It's like you're finding your true nature, that it's that's already there. And there's a way to pivot into stability if you do that again and again and again and again and again.
It's just an energetic pathway. That's what I'm hearing. So it's like there's the rupture or the impact of whatever that thing is. And then if we take enough spaciousness in the pause, then we can help redirect the energy into a new pathway. And then the more we practice that, the better it gets. And then it grooves in a new energetic pathway. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. But there's a key here is that
Tell me the key.
you don't know.
I don't know what.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So as we're laying down these experiential, because the map is not the territory.
Right.
So we're live in the territory and we're enacting in this way and we may not know.
I got you.
So it's really important to let the not know, because if we pull a map, then we've run the energy through a map and we become dependent on a map and we lose all the information, all the consciousness, all the experience, all the energy that's in the limitless, boundless field itself, which we are. So it's really important to get that the teachings are pointers to get us into the territory. And then we will wake up to the degree that we can wake up to utilize as we awaken in that second or in that moment to whatever we're awakening to. If we can just remember, I'm at choice.
I'm at choice.
And in that I'm at choice, and in that pause, what's here now? What's being shown? And the temptation is to go into the habituated contraction because enculturation, our way of being trained, our way of being a good citizen is so deep. And we're going against that as we pause and we're holding the tension because the tension is now go to sleep, do the right thing. And it's like, but so you have to stay strong in that do the right thing immediately from the thought.
From the thought.
It's holding for something more than thought.
Yes.
And then in that holding for something more than thought, there's the silence. And the silence is seductive. And we let that silence make love to our thoughts. So the thoughts are being cared for.
Guys, that's important.
And then we're free. And then spirit moves through us.
Woo! Raina! Shit! Woo! Okay, that was freaking awesome. Guys, I want you to, I'm sure you already are feeling it as she's saying it, but Raina's, this whole episode is going to be a transmission I can feel. So make sure your bodies are open and you're feeling it as you're listening to it. But I love this. And is that my Topo Chico? Topo Chico's here. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is there gets to be, let me backtrack. So when I first started my journey in personal development, it was very much mindset, everything. There was a map and there was a mindset and there was a step-by-step and this is how it's done. And my body was not online for any of it. And it was in those days where I struggled with disordered eating and body image issues. So any sort of somatic anything, I just was not, it wasn't where I started. It wasn't my door in. And so I remember those days just like spinning and spinning and spinning, being like, I know everything, but I'm not tapping into the, And now, there's been times when I come into your office and we don't even talk. I sit there and you're just like, And then you just point and I get on the table and then we just do it and then I kind of leave, right? And it's so beyond the mind and it's just incredibly deep and in the visceral somatic system. And so what I'm hearing you say is there gets to be a map, a door into the world so that we can then tap into the energy and start using some of these streams and energies to actually transform. Do you want to go a little bit deeper into that? Because a lot of people who are listening probably have never done a somatic session. They've never, maybe they do a bit of breath work because they're in this community, but can you go a little deeper there?
I want to turn the map inside out.
All right, let's do it.
So what if we start with a reconsideration of mind?
Okay.
What if mind is not localized to brain, includes brain, and not localized to brain? What if mind includes body and is not localized to body? What if mind includes place
Okay.
and not localized to place? What if mind includes who you're working with? So what happens as we have a reconsideration of a pointing, of an assumption that everything has been built upon, which is that mind is somehow localized somewhere? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what we're asking is please take the red pill.
Mm.
And then in this exploration, just for this exploration, play with, oh, mind is much vaster than it's been defined.
Mm.
Jonas Salk in 1965 built the Salk Institute.
Yeah.
He built the Salk Institute because his tasting of mind,
Mm-hmm.
it was somehow beyond where everyone was pointing.
Mm-hmm.
So in his dreams, he had this idea of we need a place because mind needs a place to rest. And it needs to have these expansive vistas of ocean, needs to have these big windows so light can pour in, needs to have these meeting rooms so people can gather. And in that space, in that place, the issues of the day can be solved by the premier scientists.
Got it.
So fast forward to 2023, and we are still, many of us, operating that, oh, mind is localized in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now the time has come. We've done a lot of work on that. So now let's expand our horizons and notice what this is doing for your somatic intelligence. As you have a reconsideration with all the work you've been doing.
Mm. Yeah, it's like I'm feeling so much energy in my body right now. It's interesting. My mind, what I believe conceptually is the mind. There's so much richness there. Like I feel such there. And then when I allow that richness and that, it's almost like an intensity of energy to travel down into my body, I can just feel my body just lighting up and feeling this resource and this richness. And then it feels as if my entire being is alive, not just my mind.
And then now let's extend that to this place, this studio. Extend to the studio.
Okay. John, you ready? I'm going to shoot you with some energy.
Right. And then include the people. Like include the studio, include place. Because this is a place. You've hung your hat in this place. Include this place. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like
Yeah.
my body just shakes as I'm like, oh my God.
Yes. 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 That. Yes.
It's so intense.
And then the intensity is a marker. Open here. Open here. Because you can ride the intensity by feeling the intensity, and you are the intensity. The intensity is not doing itself to you. You are that.
Okay, so that's where my body, so it's like I'm feeling this.
Yes.
And I can feel the energy. And like, I stopped myself because I'm like, I could keep going, but I'm like, fuck. Like I stopped myself.
So notice place.
Okay.
Notice place.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Notice where I am here.
Okay. Notice place. This place, this space that's been created through all this creativity, these floors, these ceilings, these walls, all that's within this place and this womb of place.
Mm-hmm.
So feeling the womb of place.
Okay.
There you go. And then feeling the humans and knowing that there's a collective mind which shows itself through our collection, our collaboration, our consciousness unifying. It's already unifying. We're placing our awareness on what's already happening. We're permissioning the war to stop. We're permissioning the collaboration, the natural species collaboration.
Yeah, it's like from this place, there's such a like my body's like, yes, like this is reality. It's
Mhm.
like this is true.
Mm.
And then when I release myself from that place and I go back into human, I'm like, fuck, man, it's gonna take so much work to you know what I
To
mean? Like,
stabilize?
well, it's like what I feel for humanity.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like what I feel for humanity is like there's so much fucking potential. But then
Mhm.
it's so clunky here. Like it feels so fucking clunky because we're so fucking in our heads.
Okay.
And
So
that's where it
yes.
feels like a toggle. I'm like,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
like it's like I part of like breath work is like giving people access, or part of like the work that you and I are doing is like how can we give people access so they know that the unification and the connection of humanity is our greatest source, because right now we just don't know that, and we're seeing that.
We forgot.
Yeah.
We know. We know. That's why it's so easy. I just pointed. Look, I just did a couple little pointers and off you went.
Woo!
And you remembered.
Yeah, and it's so like that feels more real than this.
I would say, notice what happens when you are permissioned to know yourself through this energetic consciousness configuration.
Yeah.
Like you are fully permissioned to know, oh, mind. Someone got in the territories and they made a banner about mind. And
Yeah.
then everybody repeated it.
Right. The group think.
The group think.
Yes.
And then everybody reached for that and then didn't consider,
Yeah.
didn't contemplate, didn't say, is that the way that rolls through me?
Mm-hmm.
We just took that as that is the
That's
grand
the way
poobah
that
of
it
truth.
is,
That's the
right.
way that it is. And now, with the advent of neuroscience, we're able to tease all of these things apart.
Yeah.
And now there's new possibilities and potentialities, because how we view ourself is how ourself shows up. Like,
Yeah.
one thing that is so exquisite about the way I've reorganized my system is I am like the world's best lover to my own system.
And it's so good.
Like, I know
Oh.
exactly, oh, babe, oh, yeah, that's happening, right? But I have the part of me that was, I've had many parts
Yeah.
through all the traumas and things. So I gave them jobs. Okay, you there that's hypervigilant to check the environment for everything. Okay, I love that you're doing that. And your job is to send me like Topo Chicos, or to send me like these beautiful like nummies, like all the time, just shower me with yummies. So I have taken, quote, parts work,
Yeah.
and taken those parts, loved them, unburdened them,
Yeah.
and then given them other jobs.
Interesting. I love that.
So I
love
have
that.
a whole community of like, and someone will say, Raina, you're turning into a narcissistic, egocentric person. And no, I keep going, but they have all got jobs.
Right.
And we have meetings to make sure everybody's
Yes.
happy with their job and if they need to be reassigned.
Are you happy with being the Topo Chico fetcher?
Exactly. And you don't want to do that anymore. You want to be the giver of sweeties. Okay, we can have a choir of giver of sweeties.
Right. Yeah.
So I have that. It doesn't mean that I don't have the occasional,
Right.
but it's so small
Yeah.
compared to what it could be,
Right.
or what I see people suffering in.
Mm.
So the key for suffering is we get so embedded in the contraction, and we look to be edified in the contraction as that is what is real and true.
Yeah.
And it's simply not. And you say, like, Reina, this is horrific. And it's like, yeah, but even in the horror, there is choice. It's like, no, there's not. Yes, there is. You can choose to breathe. You can choose not to breathe. There's a modicum of choice.
Yeah.
So if we can get that modicum of choice and we work that, even if it's an inch, if any of it means we could move our finger just a teeny tiny bit, that's something. That's something. And that's something so precious about human, is that we have the capacity for change.
So I love that so much. So we're going through a time period at the time of recording this where the war is happening in Israel, and I know there's a ton of people who are just feeling helpless and feeling hopeless and feeling like what the hell is happening. And so I haven't yet connected with you on this, and so we might as well let's talk about it now. You've connected with my community because it's so great. I am so grateful that you are co-supporting the Life Mastermind with me.
Mm.
Aren't those women just the
Absolutely
best?
extraordinary.
Literally, I'm obsessed with every single one.
So willing
Yeah.
to work, so
Oh my
willing to
God.
look at, so willing to
It's one
do
of the
the
greatest
work.
joys of my life to lead the Life Mastermind and to be in community with those women. They're just some of the coolest people I've ever met.
Stunning. Each one.
So I know you talked to them about this a couple weeks ago. But what advice do you have for people who are afraid for our world and are terrified and are scared of, worst case scenario?
I would say, yes, have those views. Like own the terror, own the scared,
Yeah.
own, like really get with, but do it from a place of resource. Like get yourself, whatever that means for you. Like if you need to hold someone's hand, if you go sit in a synagogue, if you go sit in a church, like whatever your way, if you do breath work, if you do exercise, if you do, like whatever your holy of holies is, get yourself resourced.
Yeah.
And then have a look at what's alive for you in response. Because we can go into primal reaction.
That's what yes, like when COVID happened and Black Lives Matter and all these things happen, we get into reactive activism.
Yes.
And I'm just like,
No.
like
Absolutely not.
it's so
That's
detrimental.
That's throwing fire on fire.
Thank you.
And so what we want is the actual fire to be the fire of compassion. Because compassion is being with, but not from the parts that feel less than or under-resourced.
Right.
So that's what we're working with, is the immediacy of responding, cultivating the capacity to respond rather than blindly reacting eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth that has been going on for thousands of years. And I am in no way qualified to speak to what is happening in the Mideast that has been going on for thousands of years with ancestors and that whole part of our world. They are working like I don't even have the capacity to fully honor every being in all those territories from all their views and all their experiences and their ancestry. I want to honor and say yes to every single being, and then no, we can't blow people up. No, there are hard no, like no, we don't do that. No, we don't engage that way. No, that's not. No, 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 no. It's like a kid trying to do something, and you'll say, no, that's going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt that person, and that's a no. Yeah. So there's some, but I'm going to leave this for those that have spent lifetimes studying and working with. My limited view is what we can do on the far outside is check ourselves. Are we in reaction? Yeah. Are we in response? Have we held ourselves? Have we met the killers that live within us? Have we met the victims within us? Have we owned the whole
that's so big.
Perpetrator, victim? Because each time we feel a victim, there's a part of us that is a perpetrator. Each time we feel a perpetrator, there is a part of us that is a victim. It's a continuum, and we will want to polarize and be in one side or the other side of the continuum because maybe it feels better. But the truth is, humans, we're all of it. Yeah. We are the whole continuum. Yeah. So we have to own it. We have to get in there and do the work to really look at ourselves with help, probably. Yeah. That this is so.
Are you afraid of the state of the world right now?
I'm not afraid. I'm curious, and I see the seeds of the future. Okay. So yes, we could blow ourselves up. And yes, in that shaking of these deeply held pockets that haven't moved for centuries, there's this new consciousness rippling through your generation. No generations have had access to AI, to technology in the ways that the millennials and those after the millennials will have. So if we get ourselves right, if we get in right relations, and right relations to me is not just humans,
Right.
it's all of Earth. It's a reconsideration of mind also that includes all of sentience. As we get in right relation with sentience, and we know ourselves as that we lack for nothing, and that we are supported in this living, breathing world, and we know ourselves as co-creators, something different
Yeah.
arises.
Yeah.
And there are so many that are rising up to meet on every level. So I have hope. And yes, we can blow up. And I have hope because if I sit in the world is going to hell in a handbasket, for me, it will. I will give my body those signals, and I will go to hell in a handbasket.
Yes.
And the world as I know it, it will be giving me those signals, and I will signal that back, and I will create it.
Guys, that is so important. That is so important. I think today there's so much fear in headlines and social media and everything that we forget that our vibration is such a catalyst in where the world is going. And that's an individual decision. You made a decision. It's a choice. Again, it goes back to choice, right? You made a choice. I am not going to be on the side of destruction and our world's fucked up and blah, 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 blah. I am going to be on the side of, hey, actually, every single human is innately, there's a soul, there's a heart, there's divine intelligence in every single human. And if we can wake up and actually feel that, be that, and recognize that within ourselves and within other people, we can actually create heaven on earth. And isn't that the point?
Yes, I'm going to give you a slight correction. So we own the place in ourself that has the fear that the world is blowing up.
Right.
It's there. And simultaneously, we are holding that and we are making a choice. I see you, I got you, and I'm choosing hope. And I got you.
I see.
I'm holding you. You want to have that. And through that intoxication and through that enchantment, I am still organizing and seeing something through those filters, which I am focusing on, and we are birthing the future together. So it doesn't mean that I polarize and then I ignore and that goes in the shadows, because that's what happens when we leave something and it goes into the shadows and we hold ourselves the other side of the polarization. I am so spiritual. Well, no. I am so spiritual, and I have so much schmutz that I am holding, and like Mother Teresa, someone met little tiny 4'11" Mother Teresa right before she died, and this young man said, "How have you done these good works in India where you built all these orphanages?" And Mother Teresa came along at a time when women were in the streets, dying, pregnant women, children. It was all happening. She got so enraged. She met her killer. And she took that killer and she took her faith in God and she put them together and she let the killer fuel her so she could build these orphanages and do these good works. So when she looked at the young man and she said, the reason I can do these great works is because I met my killer. It blew him away because she's this little woman in a Catholic habit and she's supposed to be spiritual. And she's like laying it down like, let me tell you this is it, baby.
This is it. This is it. And the denial that we have that energy within all of us is what continually perpetuates this darkness and comes out sideways.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
It's like the ownership of we all have light and dark inside of us.
Yes.
You know, it's like all of the destruction that we're seeing, the reason why we're so reactive to it is because it's pinging our systems and going, that's in you too.
Yes.
And so when we can get with that, and there is that like this like fucking spiritual, elitist, love and light, it's like so, ugh,
Mm.
bleh. It's like love and light and destruction and darkness.
Yes. So if you have the love and light, destruction and darkness, watch, there's going to be a new podcast or new show like love and light, destruction and darkness. You heard it here first, folks. Love and light, destruction and darkness. But it is the embrace. It's like, so then we get into the curiosity of, well, what embraces love and light, destruction and darkness? That, to me, is our true nature. It's like, oh, since we're all of it, we have to be able to embrace all of it. So what if we align and we stand in that which embraces all of it and simultaneously really works hard to have discernment of like, oh yeah, we want to blow that up. Not here, not now. Maybe tomorrow we'll blow that up. Not now.
Right.
This is what's needed here. Like the clarity to be able to see 7 generations, as the indigenous elders would speak about. Like, oh, look, we have a view which is so immediate. It's like, how is this going to get the fulfillment of my desire right here, right now? And we don't go any further. Like, how can we include our future self beyond this moment?
Yeah.
Because we are so moment to moment organized. Like, I push my computer. I don't like that. I push the other button. I don't like that. I push this button. I like that. Right? We are like the masters of immediacy. And that short-sightedness, I would postulate that that's getting us into the messes that then begin to compound over time, because Earth is a builder. You lay something down, she lays something on top of it. You lay something down, and now you've got these creations that you're going, I just cloned a sheep. How did I get Godzilla? Right? So the Dalai Lama once said, oh, the mind in the West is so brilliant, but the affect line is so small. So how do we honor our brilliance, like where we have come? And I'm going to call this the first world, because we have privileges, we have access to that where people in the rest of Earth do not. So how do we take this responsibility and hold it deeply and lightly and intelligently and look forward, like teach ourselves, how do we expand our view more than first quarter profits? What if our companies, instead of going quarter by quarter, we commit to, hey, you know what? My company is going to be around and is going to grow my children. So I am going to take actions that are going to benefit the earth so that they have a playground.
So huge.
So that they have, so that the cows have a place, so that the animals have a place, so my kids can play outside, there's air to breathe, that they can play with neighbors' kids. Like, how do I expand my view to include my future self? Now, I can say this because I'm young. I'm 64 years young, but I have a little bit of a view I can see, but then I can see my short-sightedness. And I can see where I have been, some part of me has been caring for my future self. Like, I will make choices. I became a vegetarian when I was 19. I started because I couldn't stomach the animal farms. I was like, there's something about that that's not right. I don't know what it is. I don't have the intelligence to understand it, but there's something that's hitting my body and I'm a no. I don't like that. I'm a no. So now we're finally coming around to, like, people do different things, but there's more humanity in some places.
Absolutely.
So we have to go through our process of learning. But I don't know, getting back to your original question, I don't know now if I walked by a pond, back when I was born, there was half the amount of people on the planet, and I threw in a rock. Now there's almost 8 billion people on the planet. That's a heavy carrying load. If we all throw rocks in the pond, there's going to be no pond. There's going to be a pile of rock.
Right.
So each one of us, our choices, everything we do matters. We matter so much. Do we take our bottle and just throw it on the ground? Do we recycle it? Like everything we do matters because it's impacting. With 8 billion people on the planet, every act we do probably impacts. Those of you that have got these beautiful statistician minds will say 8.2 people every time you do something. Or I don't know what it is. Right?
Yeah.
So there is a waking up into that we matter. And what you're doing on this podcast is like, let us acknowledge the enculturated habituations of sleep. In the Matrix movie, it was a blue pill.
Yeah.
And what if we get up from that, we wake up, we look at that, and we say, yes, that is happening, and there are other choices, and I want to engage, I'm curious, I want to engage in something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see you unabashedly saying, yes, let us do that. Because that is not creating an environment for my yet to come kids.
I love that.
That's not just
No, it's so good. Like the way you describe that, the way you explain that, there is this invitation for deeper responsibility for each being that is here. What are we contributing to? We are trending in a direction every single day. And so the question is, what direction am I trending in? Where's the momentum, right? That's a question I often ask myself. It's not lost on me that there is energetic momentum happening in the planet 24/7, right? We're either going up or we're going down. Like nothing is stagnant. That's not how energy works. So given the fact that I am a conscious contributor to that, or I choose to be a conscious contributor to that, what was my part today?
I love this.
What was my part today? Did I give in to the fear and the crap and the politics and the bullshit and the social? No. I decided, hey, this is where we're trending and this is where we're going. And you know what it is, right? It's like, because it's not just a vision that I have for the world. It's like a full fucking embodied experience of what's possible. It's not like, oh, that would be nice. It's like, no, that's what's possible. And so there's like this deep commitment in my system to constantly trend in the direction of like what I know is possible. And like, will I see it in my lifetime? I don't know. But I get to believe that the work that I'm doing here and the work that like we're all doing here, like all of our listeners, our community, the Pause Breathwork community, it's like we're all trending in the direction of creating more coherence, deeper connection, loving the oppressors within us, loving the darkness within us, loving the destruction within us, so that there's a greater context, right? Like you said, and I love this, I want to pull on that thread. You said, it's our true nature that holds all of it, all of our dark pieces, right? It's like the way that I taught this in the Life Mastermind was, or at level 2, you were there, maybe you were there for this, I'm not sure, is there's the context of our life, right? Which is our soul essence, our soul curriculum, our true essence, our just like when we say like remembering who you are, that's the context, right? The remembering, that's the context. And then there's the content. So the content that arises is like the darkness that lives within us that has been passed down to us from other lifetimes or this lifetime, right? That's content within the context. And the more we strengthen our context and the more we remember, the more we wake up, the more we can help metabolize all of that content that arises, so we don't shy away from our darkness, but we fucking meet it and we metabolize it back into the context. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And it's a brilliant pointing.
Mhm.
What I would add to the
Yeah.
context
Mhm.
is it's important with context to have a greater vision.
Mm.
And this is just a small example,
Yeah.
went and was able to hang out with a Rinpoche who is
Oh, so
holding
cool.
a context
Mm.
of the Golden Age.
Mhm.
And the Golden Age, maybe it takes 400 years, but it's a process, right? So the Golden Age, what if the Golden Age, like true nature,
Yeah.
is already here and it needs the minds that can illuminate it? So all the work that we're doing from the gross to the subtle,
Mhm.
awakening into nature with eyes that can see
Mm.
right here. It's literally right here. It's the end of the polarity. It's the end of the duality. It is
Yeah.
like the mind that we pointed to. What if we shift from mind being localized in brain into this greater consideration?
Mhm.
You'll notice that our systems, as we unpack the condensations, are so open and available, like puppies that we're teaching,
Mhm.
right? Your puppy couldn't sit, and now a
Yeah.
week later you say, sit, and the puppy sits, right? We are like that. So what if it's already here?
Yeah.
And what it takes is the eyes that can see, the ears that can hear, the nose that can smell, the hands that can touch.
Yeah.
What if it's right here?
Yeah.
And for all those that do psychotropics,
What's the difference between that and psychedelics? I'm like, tell me more about that.
psychedelics, like in that pathway,
Okay, yeah.
people are getting a glimpse, an altered state, which penetrates the rational mind. And it gives them a taste of this greater mind. So since they had a taste, they know that it is so. And then I think what is missing is, in every moment I am creating relationship with this extraordinary gifting that I am, that neurobiology is pointing to, so I can know myself through different frames and different lenses of reference.
Right.
We like to be mirrored. It's innate. Mama mirroring to baby, baby knowing itself, themselves through mama. What if we have mamas that are mirroring true nature to babies from the get-go? What if mamas have awoken to their true nature and are mirroring babies in their true nature?
So good.
And beings grow up and they're like, yeah, golden age is right here. And they're making choices without even thinking about it. It's like, yes, I recycle this, blah, 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 or whatever the things are. Right action, kindness, equanimity. It's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as hate. There's no such thing as harming someone because you hate them.
Yeah.
That's all gone.
Yeah.
I want to argue that we have, I don't want to argue it. I just want to name it. Hey, we can remember.
Yeah.
And we have those glimpses. So
I remember a couple of years ago, I was in session with you and you asked me the question, go to your home planet. Do you remember that?
we're not a home planet.
And the moment you asked me that question, my awareness just went vroom, and I went to this place where I remembered where I came from, and I remembered the love and the ease and the joy, and that's what I tap into when I'm creating and living. It's like that remembrance. It's like, well, if it's there, then it can be here. And that truly is my prayer for the world, what you just shared, like parents who are so attuned and are just doing their own work day by day, moment by moment to the best of their ability. So we're not creating this generational trauma that we're seeing occur on our planet so rapidly all over the place. It's like, how can we break these cycles of trauma and really reflect true nature to each other, whether it's mama and baby, whether it's, soul on soul.
Hmm.
But it's like
Well,
that is so
you are doing
powerful.
it. Actually, you going to your quote home planet. What
Mm,
you did is you bridged home planet, you remembered, and then you accessed that,
mm,
and you're manifesting it here.
mm,
So you are doing it.
mm, mm.
I think that is
Interesting.
something that the millennial generation has an access point for. That
Mm,
that your generation doesn't have to be bound
mm.
in the traumas
Yeah.
as a thing,
Mm,
because there's been enough work by the generations before you
yeah.
that you can hit a trauma, but then you can work it, pivot from it, learn from it, and
Yeah.
be in the openness
Yeah.
and then go
Mm,
without having to spend 30 years woggling around in it,
yeah.
20 years woggling
I
around in it.
even think that, like the generation, this could get controversial, but the generation underneath me, what I feel. So what would
The
that be?
Z,
Something like that?
the one above you is X,
Then one below me is like Z
Z, I think,
or
or A.
Z,
Some people say, Z
Z or Z or whoever you're
yeah,
from.
the next one, yeah.
What I feel there is in it's like there is an openness, there is a deeper connection to source, there is a deeper access point, but then I also feel a lot of the evil of the world distorting that generation and conforming them into playing out things from distortion. They say inclusion, but it's like distortion.
Mm.
Whereas, like, deep in the soul of the soul of the soul, their soul's path did come here for inclusion, for connection, for love. But the
Mhm.
way that the agenda is shifting, those beings are getting confused and they're getting distorted to act out in behaviors that aren't actually helping with inclusion. Do you know what I'm saying here?
Oh. They grew up with technology. They had a technology starting at the age of 2, I think, or
Mm.
they came in. I think technology started coming around
Something like
1995, and
that. Our generation's
then
the interesting one where, like, we knew no
you
internet,
knew
and now
no
we know,
internet, and
yeah.
now you
Whereas, like,
know
that generation is like all they know
all they
is
know. So there may be human being, I got you. There may be misses in human. They may have interfaces that are more technology based.
yeah.
So then to reach them, it's important that the technology, maybe the new AI, if the new AI is crafted well,
Mhm.
can then be crafted like a loving,
Let's hope so.
benevolent
Let's
being
hope
that's very
so.
supportive and caring. And then that can help to mirror to these beings, and they can remember
Mm.
themselves as that.
Mhm.
So that would be the ideal,
Mhm.
uh, perhaps. And
Mhm.
perhaps there is something afoot that is beyond our limited views
Yeah.
too. Like it's a
Yeah.
benevolent universe. Perhaps
Yeah.
there is some golden thread out there that is like, um,
Yes.
I would say that as my view keeps increasing, there's always more.
Mhm.
So it's like it's never ending. The exploration is never ending. It's just, where do you want to, what's, I love the where's your North Star? Like in all the explorations, it's like, what holds you? What's your thing
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can rest into,
Mm.
and then build relationship with that, like
Yeah.
direct relation. Not that someone is telling you, but it's because my story is what when we die, what we're dying to is like all of our choices, all of our suchness, all of our
Mm.
cultivation of relating with our being and our incarnation
Yeah.
throughout this life, the cells and biology and human and spirit in all of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so good.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo!
Take a breath. Take a breath. What kind of breath do you want? What's the breath, baby? What's the breath?
You know them now. Now that you and I lead the level 2 breathwork facilitator. All right. Raina, this has been so good and so juicy. And my curiosity is for everyone who's listening, the thousands and thousands of people who are going to come across this episode and listen to it, what is a desire on your heart to communicate to humanity to help alleviate some of the suffering and bring people back into their true nature just a little more?
Yeah. One is that you may feel like you're alone, and actually you're not. That we're right here, like the beings that support you are right here, whether they're in the seen or the unseen. Like there is always support. The trick is as you reach for it, what happens is if you have a belief that it's not there, you'll reach with a closed fist. So what happens is that you have to do the work to open the fist to receive. And that seems like, oh, that's so simple. But to really open to receive means you're standing in the not knowing. It's like you're naked. You're naked in the not knowing, and you're allowing for what wants to land, which will be exactly perfect for wherever you're at, to land so that you can be taken up by that. So that would be my blessing.
Dang, we covered some ground, girl. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your light and your wisdom, and you are the rarest human I know, for sure. Just so much wisdom, so much love, so much compassion. And I'm so grateful that I got to share that with this community kind of on loudspeaker, because you've been my little hidden secret weapon for, God, 5 years, 6 years? How long we've been doing this thing? Lifetimes, really.
Lifetimes, I would say.
So thank you for being here and sharing all of yourself with our community.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And you know, the community is so blessed because of you. Your undying dedication and your willingness to open and your willingness to stand in the face of the enculturated habituation and say like, nope, nope, I'm not buying it. So to be a woman and to stand up to that and say, no, there's another way.
Yeah.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Can't Be Contained podcast. You know the deal. It would help us so much if you could subscribe wherever you're listening to the show. Give us a review. Share the love. The intention is to bring the show to millions of people all around the world and help wake this planet up through the power of love. So let's do it.
Yes.
See you later.
Can't be contained.